Bella, I'd love to hear you talk about the 30. That's my evolution sphere, and how it, how does it play into this past and future connection between the 13 and the 7?
This is part of what I hear that has been coming in strongly for me. Tomorrow, we're going to have a Sun-Saturn conjunction in the 13, right? Because the Sun is right coming up to be over Saturn. And next time, February next year, the Sun and Saturn are going to conjunct in the 30. And that is quite interesting because this year, somehow, when it comes to the Saturn and Sun, seem to show us something that has to do with this codon ring of purification, which for me actually goes back to the 19. It is about purifying those codependent relationships where we have the desire of the 30, and some of those patterns that also come up with the 13. But what I wanted to show, what I feel is interesting here, and I wanted to show it like this because it's a little bit complicated, but I always do this on Facebook every new transit. So you see here a kind of braid. So discord, discernment, and empathy. This is the 13th gene key. These are those frequencies that we have been speaking about. And then what you see here is that the hexagram is made up of 2 trigrams. The top trigram is heaven. It's gene key 1, you could say, because 2 of these are going to make up gene key 1, and the bottom one is fire, and 2 of fire are going to make up gene key 30. So we could say here, when we look here, discord in the shadow frequency is the entropy of desire. What does that mean? You see here, discord, this is the shadow of the 13, and that's made up of the shadow of the 1 and the shadow of the 30. So you can see that we could almost say that the 30 is already including in its makeup the 30. So there is a lot of fire. If we think about the codon ring of purification, it has heaven and fire in the 13. And then the other hexagram that it has is 30, which is fire over fire. It's interesting what needs to burn away in human interactions. The 13, somehow we can feel like it's very feminine, it's listening, it's soft. But when you look at this, the longing for union fuels creativity, purifying the past to discern the present. And then we have those frequencies. Discord is the entropy of desire. Discernment is fresh light. Empathy is the beauty of rupture. For me, it's powerful. It's not like that, just I can hear everything. And fire rises up to heaven. So that's the hexagram. This is something important to understand with the codon ring of purification. It's about human relating, and it is the things that are burning away so that we can, I believe, relate in a way that feels much more like the codon ring of union. And we spoke a lot of that when we were in that place of the wheel. And I don't even know if I have the wheel. Yeah, here's the wheel. So when we were in those gates of, that was in the summer. So where do we have that? When we were in the 7, the 4, the 29, and the 59, we were speaking about how human relating, where the gift of understanding, the gift of commitment, the gift of intimacy, the gift of guidance, like how those are important and how those are coming through. And if we look, and this is again kind of technical, but when we look at the codon groups, you're going to see that the codon of purification, the codon of union are actually together. And they are part of forming a codon group. So that's what I feel, that's where you have that 7 that then is connecting to the 19, and you're speaking about the future and the past.
Yeah, I think, Bella, I love where you're going with this. Somehow the discussion leads into these directions that create openings for something new in every case. And the question that you're bringing up of, we're on Earth, so are we feeling the 7 right now more than we're feeling the 13, which is the sun, which, obviously the sun plays a big role in our experience. So you're asking the question that has been in my mind for some time, which is, how does lunar alchemy become a part of the evolution? How does it move and grow with the evolving consciousness that is rising. And when you are describing the way that the codon rings work together, and you're describing the discord is the entropy of desire. And here's a perfect example of those deeper connections. What I'm beginning to see is this connection to both archetypes, which is our understanding of a symbolic personification, if you will, of a particular energy, as well as the influence of elemental nature, which is where the I Ching, originally it was brought out of an understanding of the elements themselves. And when you're talking about these gene keys that have the double trigrams, 30, which is fire over fire, or gene key 1, which is heaven over heaven. These are pure understandings of elemental structures in nature. And in order to really imbibe the energies that are being brought through the cosmos and our experience here on Earth, and the reflections that we're experiencing from the moon as a separated aspect of Earth, incorporating archetypes and elements into the understanding is a huge part of how these energies can become truly alive in our consciousness. This is one answer that I can see. That there may be more answers, or there may be other directions with that particular question that you asked. But for me, that's where I feel like when we're looking at the shadow of discord, understanding how does that function inside our body? Does it connect to some symbolic aspect of my body that I can relate to, that makes more sense to my awareness than just saying the word glutamine? Now, you may have taken glutamine for one reason or another, but I think there's a lot of people on the planet that have no idea what it is, or what it does in your body, what the role is. And for me, even when I'm reading the gene keys, for instance, when we look at the amino acids, which is essentially the density of this energy inside the body that is physically manifest, those amino acids mean all next to nothing to me. All the different lysosines and the different types of amino acids, I don't have any experience with those. I'm not a chemist, right? But what do I understand? I understand what fire is. I understand what air is. I understand how water functions in my body. And these are ways that I think are growing as a possibility for us to engage with these gene keys, so that the direct connection to our bodies can really come alive for us. And that's really what excites me about some of this, because as long as our awareness is trapped in these lower frequency levels, I love how Richard puts this in the description. As long as we are connected to our emotional perceptions of desire, we're going to continue creating a future of division, because every single thing that we do in the present is based on a discord that arose out of the past. And so the idea of harmony in the world is impossible as long as we're creating out of discord to project a future of division, because we can't let go of our desires, or we can't we allow our desires to supersede the needs of the whole.